Welcome to the Blue Cafe. We offer stories of infidelity, betrayal, and redemption. Please like and subscribe. Cheers. Now, on to today's story. Wife cheated and is doing the opposite of what I need. My wife of 13 years had a deep emotional affair. Our marriage wasn't the best and I understand her feeling of not feeling much affection from me. Long story short, she left to work in another state for 5 months. While she was gone, we agreed that when she returned we would go to marriage counseling. However, in the months leading up to her return, she became involved with a co-worker. I discovered heavy flirting through text messaging, and over time she has revealed more and more about the affair. She lied to me when I first asked her about it, and she has lied several more times since me finding out. She says she's taking responsibility for it and is remorseful, but she gets angry whenever I ask more details or get depressed about it. She has since quit texting on her phone and only uses FB Messenger and Instagram to communicate with people, and deletes every message immediately after it is sent or received. I admittedly have been taking extreme steps to try and keep tabs on what she is doing and communicating with, and she says that the behavior is driving her away. I try to explain that if she was more open I wouldn't feel the need to do these things. She tells her friends and therapist that it's to control her, and she says she has a basic human right to privacy. I agree with privacy unless you are trying to save a marriage after an affair. I feel like she is doing all the opposite things she should be doing. She's dismissive and irritable when asked questions about the affair. She blames the affair on the marriage. She says things like it was only an emotional affair. She has apologized and at the times it felt sincere, but then it feels undermined later on. I also feel like she is gaslighting me by telling me that my reactions aren't normal and my obsessive behaviors aren't normal, and the problem is me and I need to get help to stop obsessing so much. But everything I read says these behaviors are normal and that the other person should have empathy towards these feelings. Am I crazy for wanting to make this work? I really love my wife and I was really excited to repair our marriage before the affair happened. Now I feel like I'm alone to fix it, and I have to just accept the affair and accept that I will actually have less transparency than I have had at any point in our marriage. You cannot reconcile unless neither party wants it. She is clearly not wanting to reconcile. She also needs to learn the difference between privacy and secrecy. However, it is pretty much standard that after an affair of any kind that the BS gets full access to all devices, including passwords to all social media, in order to reconcile. It's basically the WS's way of showing they are no longer doing anything that they shouldn't be doing. She isn't acting like a spouse who wants to reconcile. She isn't acting remorseful at all. Reconciliation will never work with her having the attitude she has. And she absolutely should not be saying it's just an EA. You are feeling normal feelings post-betrayal and not asking for anything that is abnormal after infidelity. I like that privacy and secrecy. Grow some balls and file for divorce. Now. 90% of WWs will cheat again or leave you for her AP if she was ugly, crying snot running from her nose, on her knees begging for forgiveness, speaking in tongues etc. Then I would consider reconciliation with strict terms, maybe even a revenge affair. You are not at that point with her. She is not remorseful, she is being manipulative. And will take her affair underground and divorce you when she feels the timing is right. If you live in a no-fault state where infidelity plays no part in a divorce proceeding, then you should consider a revenge affair. Hell, duck her best friend or a close relative of hers if you can. The point is that there must be consequences. Severe world-collapsing consequences. If it's a co-worker, notify HR anonymously. Hire a private detective, and have him send the evidence to HR. No more Mr. Nice Guy. From what I have read, your marriage is over. She is simply planning her escape. You're spot on. Mine sexted on pickup sites and said he didn't get enough sex from me. This went on for over 3 years that I know. He said he wants sex every day. At 60+ years of age I decided to divorce. 40 years of marriage gone. You'll go through different emotions, but life is too short. You did the right thing, thumbs up. Thank you. Today again he blamed me for not giving sex every day. He has a sick way of not admitting anything. Sounds like a narcissistic personality disorder. I am pretty sure that what he has. Search mental wellness on YouTube. The content creator is a clinically diagnosed narcissist. He explains how a narcissist behaves and manipulates people. It should be up to her to gain back your trust. I would just chalk it up as what to do/not do in your next relationship. Contact a divorce lawyer and get the divorce started. One of two things will happen: either she will just give up and accept the divorce, or she will snap out of the affair fog and try and fight for the marriage. But as there are no immediate consequences for her actions, she will continue to do what she has been doing. It was only an emotional affair. My man, given her attitude, I think the only way to handle this is to tell her, and after your affair we now have only a run-of-the-mill marriage. One that now I have no problem ending. All good advice. Thanks all. Pre-affair, her most toxic quality was an inferiority complex that made her never admit fault or verbalize being wrong. That was very frustrating for me, being a logical person. To me, there is a right and wrong in just about every situation. If she was wrong, she may accept that she was wrong but never actually say she was wrong. Now, she finds herself in this scenario where she has to admit that she has done something so disgusting and inexcusable and has to verbalize it, but it goes against everything in her head and can't do it. To the person that said it was a mechanical response, that is spot on. She may say she's sorry, but the actions and other comments say that she may regret it happened and regret getting caught, but she really blames the marriage, blames me, blames the guy, blames the circumstances, anything that makes her seem a little less culpable. Yeah, I did that, but when I caught her, her first instinct was to call her family and have them all block me, I believe to control the narrative, and then she told all her friends that she was a victim of domestic violence and that I was a controlling guy. She won't tell our mutual friends this, only the ones that worked at this place that don't know me or us, only her. She even went so far as to call Family Advocacy, it's an Air Force organization that handles domestic violence, abuse, and neglect, and tell them that I wouldn't let her see her kids, locked her out of her home and took all of her money. For a military guy, this is serious and could be career-ending. I have been under investigation for the last couple of months. She left out the details that she wasn't even in the state, hasn't lived in my home in 5 months, makes 3 times as much money as me, and I didn't see a penny of it. And my first message to her was, when you get back in town let me know because the kids want to see you. After the dust settled, I tried to ask her to call them and tell them she lied, but she was incapable of saying I lied. She said, I told you what I thought was the truth at the time, but now I realize that it wasn't. Sorry for rambling and venting. I may be stupid to think we can recover from this, but I know her personality before the affair and know that this behavior is simply those toxic traits that always existed and will be a challenge to overcome. Things have seemed to settle down and she has finally given me access to her phone. I'm still not satisfied though, as I want passwords as well. I'm sure I will be hitting this group up for more help as I try to navigate these new emotions and struggles. Thanks for the support. Why would you want such an evil, dishonest and vindictive woman back? Seriously, the report to AF Family Advocacy trying to kill your career would be unforgivable by itself, but claiming domestic violence to her friends? I would require her to revoke the report and tell her friends and family the full truth as non-negotiable preconditions to reconciliation. She is not trying to recover from the affair. At best she is trying to ignore it, but possibly is continuing it. Your best bet to both save your marriage and get revenge is to file for divorce. For her to make a choice. The revenge part? This is happening in North Carolina. It is one of the few states with alienation of affection laws. You can sue the guy. Bring everything out into the open. I suspect the place of work will have an issue with co-workers committing adultery, so there will probably be consequences for the person. Yes, you are crazy for wanting to stay. Since she likes to harp on how bad her marriage is, how does she feel about getting involved in his, since he is, you know, also married? She seems to have all of the excuses in regards to your marriage, but she also inserted herself into his as well. That's something she needs to take responsibility for as well. Speaking of his marriage, I hope his wife has been told, because she deserves to know what a slime ball she's married to. Oh yeah, I made sure to let her know. First I sent a group text to him and his wife of a picture of my wife and said, "This is the girl your husband has been having an affair with." And then sent another picture of me and my daughters and said, "This is the family he ruined." Since then, I have updated her when I find out new details of the affair. I sent her a final email the other day with what I believe is the last of all the details. She did reply, so I know she got it. Random thoughts/questions. Looking for help. Seeking advice. This is my first post on this group. I posted my story on infidelity subreddit and you can feel free to read my story first. I am on this group because we have decided to get through this but have been failing miserably for the last 3 months. We both made a lot of mistakes. I rushed in and did the pick-me dance and hysterical bonding while she still had feelings for the AP and wasn't sure if she wanted our marriage. This caused additional trauma to me when I overheard her talking to her therapist that she was still not over the guy. I felt used, manipulated, betrayed, etc. Anyway, is it hard to find a therapist that knows how to handle an affair? We have gone through 3 of them and I get frustrated and end it because they all want to jump into the problems in the marriage. They gloss over the affair. I feel like my wife is partially to blame for that because she does a good job playing the victim and acting like our marriage wasn't just bad, but abusive. I reject that assertion. Not saying that over the course of our marriage I didn't do things that were abusive. I can get really angry and petty, never physical, but that did not define our marriage. Our marriage was good, but there was definitely a lack of communication and mutual respect. We were just going through the motions. My anger rarely came out, and when it did, it was usually the result of gaslighting. Anyway, I digress. It seems like these counselors think that by fixing the marriage that everything else will be fine, but I don't even know if I can be fine with the marriage. I am anxious all the time, I have flashbacks, I am on edge, I obsess, etc. I just want someone to hear what I am going through, but it seems like they only hear my wife. In the immediate aftermath, my wife was very secretive and protective of her privacy. I couldn't understand it. She was deleting messages, locking her phone, constantly changing passwords. It was nuts. I couldn't understand it. Finally, after much convincing, she has unlocked her phone, but I still don't like that she uses social media messaging, and I'm still not convinced she doesn't delete stuff. She keeps saying that I just keep wanting more and more and I will never be satisfied. I try to tell her that if she just gave it all up to begin with, I wouldn't want more and more. And also the fact that every time she does give me access, she does it angrily and never out of love or empathy. It makes me feel awful. Like I didn't want you to be transparent that way. I want you to want to be transparent because you want me to trust you again. We are now at the point that she says she's exhausted and doesn't like being under a microscope. But I'm at the point where I don't even think she has given me enough access. She still uses Facebook Messenger and she doesn't know her password and never linked it to her email, so she can't reset her password. I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. She thinks me asking her to get a new Facebook is over the top. I don't think it is, because eventually at some point her phone will make her put in her password again and she will be locked out anyway, so why not just do it now? I just don't know how to stop being anxious, and she is acting like I am over the top and obsessive, but it's only because I don't have full access. Last question for now. Am I asking too much to ask her to give up friends? Long story short, she was out of state helping a hospital when the affair happened. She had a few friends there that she claims are her best friends, but the reality is, she has known all of them less than a year. They all work with the guy, but they aren't good friends with him. He is a physician's assistant that has patients on their unit and he makes his rounds, but he isn't there all day every day. One of the friends actually knew about the affair when it was going on and did nothing to tell her it was wrong. The guy was married too. So of course I think her moral character is in question and really don't want my wife talking to someone that doesn't think it's a big deal. The other friend didn't find out until after I found out. But that friend also in the immediate aftermath was updating my wife on how he was doing. I don't think she is anymore, but honestly everything to do with that hospital is a trigger for me. Neither friend supports our marriage. My wife has told them the one-sided version of the story that makes the affair seem like the least of our problems, so of course they are saying she doesn't need to do anything and that she needs to just leave. I did do some stupid things the last few months and I lashed out to these women in texts and Facebook, so that gave my wife the ammunition to say that they only don't support our marriage because of my actions. Bottom line, my wife told everyone I was controlling and abusive, which couldn't be farther from the truth. What controlling guy is okay with his wife working for 5 months 1,500 miles away with no oversight? I never looked at her phone before this. Never asked where she was or who she was talking to. But now with the last 3 months, she is able to say, "See, I told you he is controlling." So by me asking her to give up friends, it's again, me just being controlling. Sorry for the ridiculously long post. I'm just all over the place and can't seem to get my wife and I on the same page, and we are striking out with counselors. Any tips would be helpful. WP here. I recognize the way your WS is acting, specifically in the part of she not wanting you to mess with her personal life or intimacy. And in that case it was because I didn't want to reconcile. I felt bad for all that happened, on general terms, but I couldn't care less about my, soon-to-be, ex's trust in me. I didn't want to do any effort, I didn't want to show him I cared, I just wanted to get rid of the relationship as soon as possible, and that's why we broke up on D-Day. It was over for me. The fact that she's also trying to shift the blame over you, not only when you're talking to each other but also in therapy and with family/friends, is also a big red flag for me. Seems as if she's just trying to come out as the victim/good one while painting you as a villain, to save her image in front of others, regardless of the damage she's causing to you, your image, of the possibilities of reconciliation. That doesn't say anything good about her level of respect or love for you, let alone any effort from her side to reconcile. Why did you two decide to try again? Have you talked to her about wanting separation? How does she react? Some people take others for granted until the real possibility of losing them appears. Maybe she needs to hear you're not taking more BS from her to understand what's at stake. I'd suggest get IC to work in your own healing regardless of the state of your marriage. It'll be good for you to hear an opinion not influenced by your partner. Best of luck. I hear you. I think she has come out of the fog, but in her mind, because of all the half-ass things she did the last 3 months when I kept begging for it to qualify and now I should be over it. She keeps saying she wants to go back to counseling and that she believes in us, but she just doesn't want to touch the affair, or at least the way that I need. I tried to ask for a separation a few weeks ago but she won't leave the house. She has already spent 5 months gone, so she is already on very shaky footing to get custody of the kids if we end up in D. She's afraid that I would just divorce her and use it against her in court. Also, worth noting is that I did file for D last week. I told her I had done it and she had a meltdown and begged me to drop it. I told her it had to come with change before I would do that, and she made some half-ass promises but very little actual change has happened. My attorney is still going to serve her and then we will be in a holding pattern for the initial hearing and he will request it when I am ready. Also, I want to mention that I have been going to a counselor. She also goes to a counselor, but I don't believe that he is doing much good. He knows what she tells him and so his focus has been on her dealing with her narcissistic husband. He doesn't call her out on her behavior because he thinks that I'm the problem. Can mistakes at the beginning derail the whole thing? Advice. I'm still trying to reconcile, but my wife and I have both made mistakes after D-Day. My mistakes: hysterical bonding, pick-me dance. Her mistakes: continued to lie and trickle truth, demanded secrecy on her phone/social media, and slowly gave me access, albeit angrily and out of frustration, not transparency, insensitive to triggers, no empathy, lack of repeated remorse, frustration with my depression and inability to get over it. At this point, she finally read the book How to Help Your Spouse Heal from Your Affair, and she agreed to do the things in the book, at least some of them. She has made an effort on some things, but she still hasn't been perfect. My question is it too late to have her do what I need? Can I ever be okay and be with her? I used to have a list of questions on my phone that I wanted to ask but didn't because it would make it worse by her responding angrily or defensively. Now that she claims that she will answer questions, I don't even know if I want to ask. I know she is only doing it because of the book and it doesn't seem genuine. The same thing goes for everything else she is doing. Empathy doesn't seem real. Apologies don't seem real. Her texts wishing me a good day don't seem real. I guess the thing for me is it wasn't this big turning point where she had this realization that if she doesn't change, she could end up in divorce and her wanting to fight for it. It was just okay, I'll read your book and try. What derails reconciliation is a lack of remorse and a lack of good faith. Like your wife is displaying. Time to throw a bucket of cold water over her. File the divorce. I did file for divorce. She got hysterical and begged me to stop the proceedings. I was satisfied that she appeared to finally get the reality of the situation. I thought I completed the 180. That is when she reads the book and is trying, but it just doesn't seem genuine. If you don't feel like it's enough, then this won't work. Your feelings are valid here. It does sound as if you're wasting your time since you don't feel she is doing enough. Trust actions, not words. She said a few things but hasn't really done much to prove what she says. Always trust actions, and there just isn't enough action. In fairness, I do have access to everything I can. Some of it was initiative on my own and some of it was her giving me the access. I have all email accounts, Facebook, Instagram, and Apple ID login. So when it comes to actions, I guess she has done what she can do. But when it comes to the emotional side, the genuine empathy and concern for how she hurt me, it's just not there. That's more important than addressing the symptoms. She did the bare minimum. Without understanding and addressing the deep emotional damage, this will fail. The 180 is for you to help you detach. It's not something you complete. The issue you're having with reconciliation is for the WS to be a candidate. They need to be remorseful, which your WW categorically is not. She's not safe partner, thus not reconciliation worthy. Instead of focusing on trying to get her to care, work on why it is you are accepting this from her. Good luck. Only way reconciliation works is if true remorse is shown, and she sounds like she isn't. You and I can both tell this relationship is over and truly she doesn't care about you. In this instance, reconciliation won't work as she is not willing to do whatever it takes to win your trust back. What do you want to happen? I want to reconcile, she claims she does too. So what do you want her to do for you? There was only one mistake, and that was cheating. What did she think was going to happen? It depends how long it's been past D-Day and past the absolute end of the affair, the absolute end of communicating with the AP. It took about 6 months after that before I felt he was really all in terms of trying. So do you think she is still emotionally into this guy? I assumed that's what the issue was for the first couple of months. We're about 4 months past D-Day and the last contact with AP. It's still a relatively short time. I would say give it some more time. Things will change, but slowly. I'm just guessing, but in your wife's case she may still be getting over it. It may seem to you like she's pining or something, not necessarily. What happened was traumatic for both of you. If she blames herself, as she should, she could be working through enormous guilt. It's still a kind of trauma. It's still a kind of pain, even though not a righteous pain. I know it's hard for you and you need attention and you need to be tended to in order to heal. This is a very rough time for you. She isn't really capable of giving you all that you need right now, but if you want to make it work, just give it more time. You have the right to leave. Your staying and giving her time is a mercy. I'd say as long as there's some progress, even if slow, then it's worth seeing what happens in a few more weeks/months. I needed to hear this. Thank you. How to deal with anxiety. Advice. Anxiety is destroying me. I am struggling to focus. I am struggling to do my work. It also morphs into anger when my wife doesn't seem to care that I'm anxious, which just hurts our relationship more. I recently discovered a glass of wine or two calms my nerves and helps. I'm not a drinker and really don't like to drink, but just started because I was desperate. I have a psychiatrist that just keeps telling me my anxiety is normal with the circumstances and hasn't prescribed anything. I really think I need something to take on an as-needed basis, especially since I discovered self-medication. Anybody have tips to deal with the anxiety? The homeopathic methods have not worked. I feel like I can't control it. The only true fix I have found is empathetic communication from my wife telling me it's going to be okay, but that's not reliable and frequently is the opposite. For the physical effects of anxiety, I have taken beta blockers to slow the racing feeling and reduce the knots in your stomach, etc. to help with sleep. Take melatonin, natural drug. But you also need to be in a talking therapy and work out for the endorphins to kick in. Hope this helps. I found a good workout routine helped me work off the anxiety and anger. As a side benefit, I looked and felt better physically. I spent a lot of time throwing punches at a heavy bag. Did it until I was basically a puddle of sweat sitting on the floor out of breath. I dropped 30 pounds and got a new wardrobe. It wasn't long before the single ladies started to take notice and gave my broken ego, self-esteem and self-confidence a boost. Give up the wine, recreational drugs and junk food. Find a good therapist who has experience with infidelity trauma. This is a specialty that not all therapists have. Get the best possible help you can get to help you deal with the shit sandwich your wife has dumped on your lap. See your doctor and get a full STD/STI panel done. Don't be embarrassed, your doctor has probably seen this hundreds if not thousands of times. You are not the first husband to go through this. Ask about a temporary aid to help with the anxiety. Good luck. TB 100% Weed. Weed is more convenient these days than alcohol. Don't like smoking? That's okay. I just stress the fact that you're looking for a crutch or a coping mechanism. It's okay to lean on, but not forever. Moderation is your friend. Especially if you stick with alcohol. I wish active duty military here. Random drug screenings and a 17+ year career on the line. Oof, yeah, then, alcohol. I understand the pain. I was Marine Corps and married. Rough life. Well, I tried. 14-year marriage ending. Update. It's been about 4 months post D-Day. It's been a wild up and down journey. I still have trouble understanding it all. I don't really know how we got to this point. I'm having a lot what ifs, but at this point, I'm just trying to accept everything. The bottom line is, my wife was not capable of accepting responsibility in a meaningful enough way to help me heal. She would say she's sorry, sometimes. She would tell me she loves me, sometimes. She would respond with empathy, sometimes. But she would tell me she already said she's sorry and I need to deal with it, most of the time. She would tell me, if I didn't love you I wouldn't be putting up with all of this, most of the time. She would respond to my emotions with, you need to snap out of it or talk to your therapist if you want to move on, most of the time. If I could point to one thing that I needed the last 4 months to heal, it would be consistent affirmation that she cares. I was trying to do things for her, but she was apathetic to me. My obsessions and anxiety got worse and worse the longer she gaslit me. Anyway, all that to say this, I filed for divorce a few weeks ago, and after a short pause because she begged for it, she told me she wanted a separation last week to work on things. I drew my line in the sand and said that a separation led to the affair and there is no way that I will be able to mentally handle a separation. I feel a separation is for her to hide away until I just forget about everything so she doesn't have to look at the pain she caused every day. I told her if she is going to push for the separation I am going to go ahead with the divorce. Our first temporary orders hearing is on the 13th of October. I think I have done the pick-me dance for so long that she thinks this is a game of chicken that I will back away from and not follow through. She still doesn't even understand the damage she caused. My love and desperation I felt for the last 4 months has turned to anger and resentment. At this point, I'm positive that if she told me tomorrow she's sorry and doesn't want a separation and will do everything I need, I would tell her to duck off. It's over. Good riddance to the cheating narcissist. It's a hard thing to accept, but she is not the same person that you married. My STBXW of 25 years turned into a shell of her former self. You need to learn how to live alone. I'm still trying to figure it out myself. A life without her negativity is way better than living with a cheater. I felt the weight of the world fall off my shoulders when I filed. Finally I was able to heal. You should feel the same. I wish you luck. Thanks for this post. My anxiety got to a point it was crippling, and even though I am nervous and stressed about the change, my anxiety almost melted away and I had a feeling of peace. That's all I want in life now. Peace. Crazy, right? You grow up with big dreams and plans, and now all I want is peace. Stability. Safety. I agree. Filing wasn't something I wanted to do, but something I had to do. It was her doing that caused the D, but she wouldn't file. Wanted to play the victim. Stay your course, op. Your STBXW, from what I gleaned from various of your posts, seems to be a classic narcissist with, perhaps, sociopathic traits, at least so regarding her complete lack of empathy for the anguish she has brought upon you, and continues to inflict with her insincere apologies. Whenever you feel yourself beginning to waver, remind yourself that she made hundreds, if not thousands of individual decisions to disregard you and your marriage in pursuit of her wants. Yes, wants. Not needs, as every cheating spouse in the history of the world would prefer others to think. She had all her wants fulfilled and now suffers only the consequences she knew she was risking with each of those hundreds, if not thousands, of decisions to pursue those wants. You, on the other hand, did not decide to take any such risks, and have to bear the full brunt of your anguish due only to her decisions. She does not love you, probably never has absolutely no empathy for the devastation she has made of your psyche by her decisions, does not respect you, nor find you worthy of her affection. Read that again. Memorize it. Then repeat it to yourself every time you even think about wavering in your resolve to be free of her. As for the anger, Elle would recommend you just let that go. Except to the extent you may be angry with yourself for letting such a person get into your heart in the first place. She doesn't care about your anger any more than she cares about your anguish. File, go 100% no contact except as necessary to pursue the divorce, then hold on to only that small bit of anger at yourself that will keep others such as her from getting into your life going forward. Then stay North Carolina forever. It takes a while, but, for me at least, it has become much easier to be alone than it was to live with she who shall not be named. The stress of worrying about her approval of whatever I want to do from time to time has lifted, and, after what I now recognize as over 2 decades of low-grade depression dressed up as stoicism, I can breathe again. I'm not all the way there yet, but I'm beginning to realize more and more what there feels like, and it is very nice. Low-grade depression dressed up as stoicism. That got me in the feels. I'm still learning things about myself and my situation from this sub. Depression disguised as stoicism is right on the money for me. This is a big eye-opener for me. That was a hard one for me to accept about myself, Pop. It went on so long the physical manifestations included the testosterone levels of a teenage girl. Mid-70s when it should have been in the 400 to 800 range. Plus, I thought I was just one of those rare people who never dream in their sleep, or just never remember them. Nope. I just rarely slept for more than a few hours at a time. My doc gave me Ambien to get my sleep cycles back to something near normal for a month. I felt much better almost right away, but they weren't kidding about the side effect of technicolor vivid dreams and nightmares. In the end, that worked for me, at least as far as re-establishing healthy sleep cycles, but only nudged my T levels up to barely over 100, so artificial therapy there will also be required. One step at a time, with occasional setbacks. But it is getting much better over time. You just took the toughest step. Hold your head high and be proud that you were able to walk away from someone who didn't return the love and effort you put in. It'll be odd adjusting to single life, but this is the time that you start to do stuff for you again, for the first time in over a decade. It may not mean much from an internet stranger, but I'm proud of you. D-Day was in 2017. Gaslit through 2018. Truth and separation in 2019. Divorce in 2020. The icy nature of my ex-wife was the same as yours, though there were no more half-hearted I love you affirmations after a certain point. She was fully in love with the other guy by the time I learned the truth from his wife. I accepted my reality a long time ago, and have had great moments in between professionally, romantically, and within family/friend circles. Even all this time later, though, I am still confused and thoroughly so. Maybe it's a wound that'll never quite heal, I don't know, but the confusion is certainly normal. She left me for a guy who was cheating on his third wife, didn't have a job, no money, no relationships with his own family/kids. It's mind-boggling. You know by now you've made the right choice. It's time now to embrace a formless and undetermined future. It's time to heal. I'm sorry you're here, but remaining in step with an unrepentant cheater sounds like the ultimate torture. 4 months is such a short time after D-Day to make a decision. Anger is still so fresh and strong at that time. I was a mess for several months after my D-Day. I'm not doubting your decision, emotions are high at this point. Healing and change can take a long time, unfortunately. It's your call of course and what you can live with. Just wondering if you have tried couples counseling or outside help? We have gone through 4 counselors. Every single one we got to she unleashes on me about all the things I did wrong in the marriage the past 14 years and I'm like, cool, I got it, we had issues, the problems definitely weren't all me, and then I bring up the affair and it's pretty much ignored. She has been a master manipulator to the counselors. Maybe it's because she's a woman or maybe it's because the counselors suck, but she says he yells at me and he is controlling and I'm looked at as an abuser. She points to me wanting to have access to her phone or know where she's at as proof and I'm like, in 14 years I have not once picked up your phone to look at it or asked where you were and now I want to do it after an affair and I'm controlling? I'm not an angry guy but I yell after an affair and all of a sudden I'm verbally abusive? We finally went to a counselor last week that acknowledged the significance of my hurt, but then my wife said that she was afraid to live in this house after the counselor showed even an ounce of sympathy to me, so then the counselor said if she was afraid we should separate. She just knows the right things to say to make sure she doesn't have to take responsibility for anything, and it's also scary because she goes so far as to making me sound like an abuser. If you read back through my story, she also filed a family advocacy case against me, which is a military organization that investigates domestic violence and abuse. Everything was tossed out because it was proven to be all lies, but that's the lengths she's willing to go to avoid saying I was wrong. She even was trying to Google one day cheating on an abuser and cheating on a narcissist, hoping to find an article that would say her affair was justified or at a minimum acceptable. But actually, I agree. 4 months is not enough time. But she's had enough of it and wants to leave again, and I'm not going through that again. We have kids. She left me by myself with our 2 daughters for 5 months and then had the affair. I'm not going to be played the fool again. She's incapable of admitting mistakes or faults and wants people to just forget about them or ignore them. Sorry, that doesn't work anymore. GTFO right now, bro. If she's actively lying during counseling sessions to make you look like the bad guy, then you already know she's not accepting responsibility for any of her actions. Stop being a doormat and let her know the consequences of her actions. She left you for 5 months and your kids? She left you for 5 months and your kids? Yeah. I may have removed my original post, only because I messed up and included the guy's name and it now shows up in Google search results. But yeah, she left for 5 months to go work in North Carolina while I was in Texas. She's a nurse and was helping with the pandemic. But within a month of getting there, she was moving out of her friend's guest house and into an expensive apartment, separating the bank account, and telling me she wanted an official separation. Then, 2 weeks later, decided she didn't want that and wanted to come home and go to counseling. Well, between that conversation and her coming home 3 months later, the affair happened. Contact with the kids dropped to almost nothing. I've got all my evidence of this and I'm ready for the custody battle. She keeps saying she wants to be decent and remain civil, but that's only because if it gets ugly, she's ducked. She has already made an offer that is a non-starter. I'll let you all know how it plays out. Good luck to you and your children. Was she having an affair with a male nurse that she'd met? Physician's assistant. Ugh, that sucks. I'm so sorry. I think that should be viewed as an ethics violation at work because it's so unprofessional. My husband is now a nurse and I'm honestly just waiting for it to happen. I've heard so many horror stories with nurses. Also, he was unfaithful in the past but showed great remorse and has been 100% transparent since 6 years since D-Day. But I do have significant anxiety about it. An update. 14 years down the tubes. Update. Recap. My wife had an EA while in North Carolina for a nursing job. I cared for our 2 girls in TX while this was going on. Since her return, we have been to 4 marriage counselors. There was hysterical bonding and pick-me dance on my part. There was gaslighting, lack of remorse, AP defending, and more on my future ex's part. We had court on the 13th of October and it went horrible. My attorney thought it would be easy for me to get primary custody of my 2 daughters because she abandoned us for 5 months and I cared for them the whole time. Her lawyer twisted all of our affair recovery attempts as me being this crazy stalker husband that she is afraid of. The judge wasn't impressed. I had access to her Facebook and emails because she gave it to me, but you can imagine how that appears to someone that has never been cheated on. She also lied. She never does any of the things a parent should do. I set all the doctor's appointments, parent-teacher conferences, pack their lunches, take them to school, enforce a routine, etc. I call my wife a Facebook mom. She's there for the pictures so she can put them on Facebook and act like she's a great mom but doesn't do anything else. Her own attorney asked her who the pediatrician was and she first tried to lie and guess, and then her attorney pressed her for a name and she claimed that I wouldn't tell her. The reality is, she just never effing cared because I handle all that stuff. Anyway, the judge gave her primary custody and I was given a standard possession order. Anyone who says courts no longer favor moms is ignorant. It was devastating. 5 days later, as expected, she realized she didn't really want to be a mom and she didn't really want primary custody, so her lawyer sent me a revised possession order giving me most of the custody. I'll have my girls 60 to 70% of the time. We are 13 days in and they have only stayed at her place twice. I'm still at a loss. I'm still struggling with our marriage ending. I don't know why. I should hate her. But I don't. I go through periods where I'm at peace with everything and then periods of willing to do anything to have her back. I'm slowly making peace with it all and I'm starting with a new counselor soon for IC. I have one now, but he is through the military and they are more focused on just making sure you aren't going to kill yourself and then send you on your way. Congratulations on getting primary custody. Would be great if you could make sure you record all interactions in which she has confessed she does not want to be a mother or is not doing it properly. So that, in case in the future she wants to hurt you and try for the kids' primary custody, you will have proof. This should be a learning experience for you. You have first-hand experience of what is the worst she could do. Whenever you feel like you want her back, remember every hurt and pain she caused you and your kids. You deserve better, your kids deserve better. You really need a better counselor if you still want the woman who abandoned not just you, but also her kids back into your life. I mean, you can imagine the future impact and hurt your kids would suffer if she were back in your life. Would you want that for your children? You are all they have got, remember that. Give it time, you'll hate her. After some time being away from her will definitely make it happen. Actually, a few years back, I may not have agreed with you. But now, I agree 100%. There's something about time and distance that can give you clarity and perspective. You get time to process what they put you through, what insanity your life was with the minute, what kind of constant damage was being done to you, and your kids, while they're still in your life playing their games. Hate comes easy once the smoke clears. In this case, it will be hate because his daughters are suffering the cause of having a terrible mother, rather than the betrayal itself. From experience you get past this too. I'm also a dad with tons of similarities to the op story. My ex has the opportunity to see our son every other weekend. My ex is also a Facebook mom. What happens in my case is my son goes over since she only has to make the effort for what amounts to a day and a half. She usually has an okay time and they do something fun. I don't hate her anymore. I get annoyed when it's her weekend and she decides to take him, but that's about all I feel to that now. I still have scars from the experience. I often still feel like I'm inadequate or not a good enough man in my own private thoughts, given how long she cheated on me for, but to her specifically at this point it takes too much effort to hate. I don't think that's always the case, it's more indifference over time and just not really caring at all about them. For example, if they get sick or have a loss or something, you just don't really have any empathy left. Hatred suggests you haven't gotten over them or what they did, which is not a healthy place to be. It makes it extremely difficult to move on in life. If they are continuing to harm you in your life, then I can see how those feelings would be there. Yes, I think indifference is the much better option. The opposite of love is indifference. Hate and love are passionate emotions. Indifference is May. Getting to May is the goal. Wow. I hope you're getting maintenance from her for your children. If you are, register it. If not, seek it based on actual custody time. When you don't have your kids, seek counseling and work out. Get in shape. Focus on you. Things will get better with time. She is still technically the primary, meaning she has two things I don't according to Texas. Exclusive right to designate where the children live, confined to our county. Exclusive right to receive child support. So even with her giving me more possession, I can't seek child support. I am hesitant to post details of my plan on here, but for now, I'm going to keep my girls as much as I can and see how it plays out. However, she won't be able to get child support from me. Even as the primary, they aren't going to award her child support if she doesn't have them more than 50% of the time. I don't need her money. I make way more than her. Just keep collecting evidence, and as soon as you can put this all before a judge, do it. Make it all official and take back primary custody. What will make you angry will be the mother-shaped hole that you will be struggling to fill, which can only be filled by their mom, yet mom will never willingly try to fill herself. I went through these emotions and feelings, too. 18 years for me. It is really hard. I am really sorry all of you are going through that. You are best served by keeping really good records going forward. Your kids' attendance, grades, regular doctor's visits, etc. will be a testament to your good parenting. Let the diminished visitation continue for a year or two. When she doesn't spend time with the kids or otherwise fights you for the very basics of parenting, just record it. At the end of that time you will have a solid case for additional support, and any custody changes you may need to be changed to reflect the actual amount of parenting that is happening. Good luck, homie. It gets better. Therapy helps. Smile. Thanks for the support. I am going to just continue to be the best dad I can and meet all my girls' needs. And I agree with your plan. We hope you have enjoyed today's episode. Please comment, like and subscribe. Cheers. Have a wonderful day or night, wherever you are.